I'm really big right now into cold plunges, so I have an ice machine. It's a commercial grade. I have it right next to the bathtub. I fill it up every morning. It's 55, 50 degrees. I do 3 to 7 minutes in that. Wakes me up, shocks the body.
Nice.
I'm ready for the next. But, I go to work. I go to the office every single day. Every day that I'm here, when I'm not, traveling with Grant, looking at deals, doing a show that he's talked me into and he's brought me in on, which is a huge benefit for all of us, right? Because again, we were talking about content. The more people know you, the more they follow you, the more they trust you, and so that's been phenomenal.
The following is a conversation with Ryan Tseko, Executive Vice President of Cardone Capital. If he's not flying private planes to St. Bart's, starring in a new real estate series alongside Grant Cardone himself, he's raising capital to reach his goal of obtaining 25,000 units under management. His energy is electrifying and his passion is undeniable. This is the David Maggard podcast. To support, please subscribe, like, comment, and share. And now I present to you Ryan Tseko. Fast cars, private jet planes.
Yeah.
Right? Thousands of units under management. Beautiful fiance. I think you guys are engaged, right?
Almost.
Okay, so congratulations and before, after, whatever.
Yep.
Young, in shape, looking good. How does that feel? Like just hearing me say that to you. I mean, what's like the emotion? Like,
well, I mean, it feels great, right? But I'm just getting started in this, in what I think is going to be a huge run for the team and also for myself, right? It goes back to positioning, like who do you want to be? Like I've always modeled in my mind from a very young guy who I wanted to be, good body, good relationships, eventually a good marriage and a good family. But the fast airplanes, kids? Of course. Yeah. I love kids. I love animals. Right now I don't have any just because I live in a condo on the beach in South Florida. Oh. But, look, I've got good mentors, and I've always had good mentors, and they've always wanted to stay in shape, and they've always wanted to do big things, and so have I. So, like the fast cars, that's just something that I've always enjoyed. Like my passion is for cars. The airplane thing, I actually fell into that. I don't own any airplanes yet, but, I've been a pilot for 20 years. And so all of these things, they just kind of all mesh well together, including the real estate, right? And I know we're going to go into that, but all these things, like we're just getting started, and I'm looking forward to the future in growing.
Yeah, man, God bless you. I mean, it's great to watch you and watch your trajectory. You know what I mean? Not only watching Grant's and you're here.
Yeah, I'm here.
You're here. See, right after that, you've landed.
And a broker's calling me about a deal too.
Nice.
Yeah,
nice.
I'm listening.
So you're Executive Vice President of Cardone Capital.
Yep.
And if the viewers don't know, it's the CEO is Grant Cardone, right? Basically, what the best crowdfunder there is out there today in the nation, I don't know, globally, whatever. And you're his right-hand man. I mean, you're in a position that so many people would love to be in, and you're prospering, and you seem like a real nice guy.
Yep.
And so it's awesome.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, look, the nice guy. So the nice. If you look up the word nice, right? It's actually if you go back to like the derivation and looking it up, it means actually the village idiot.
No, that's nice not guy. What I'm calling you.
No. I know.
You know what I mean?
But most people like they think of people like nice guys and nice this is like I'm being truthful. Like the derivation actually means the village idiot. What I like to portray myself as is I'm a fair shake kind of guy. I treat others like I want to be treated.
Perfect. Yeah.
And I'm not like trying to do a lopsided deal on anything that I'm doing. So I do agree with you. Like I do have the nice thing down, but I'm also like I've transitioned into a point where Grant Cardone is the CEO. But my goal is to take on the responsibility at Cardone Capital to run the company. Like that's what I'm here for, and I'm not here to play around. I'm not here to stay at 12,000 units. My goal is to go. The next goal is 25,000 units.
Wait, so let's unravel that.
Yep.
So right now that was a question. Is 12,000? Where are we at now?
So we're at 12,000 units.
So 2022, third quarter, 12,000 Sunbelt, mostly South Florida.
Yep. 8,500 units are in Florida, and then the remaining are in Texas, and then we have a few like in Alabama and Georgia.
And are you predominantly still looking in Texas and Alabama and Georgia, or are you pretty much down here?
So we'll look in those markets for sure, but we keep getting pushed back to South Florida because we know the fundamentals are strong. We know all these markets down here, and we've built a lot of great relationships. So when we go back and we go and shop, in Houston and Austin and San Antonio and Dallas, and it's stick construction, right? We get pushed back down here to South Florida where, the rents are still relatively low. And they're
Depends on who you talk to, right?
Well, it depends on who you talk to, but for the most part, they're also building a lot of this newer stuff in concrete block, and so we like that. We like what are the buildings built out of? Because again, we're building a 40-year, 50-year. The goal here is to build a legacy. There's no get rich quick with Grant and myself. Like we want to pass this thing on, and grow a real company.
How often do you guys exit?
Rarely.
Yeah.
We will exit. Like I have a deal right now in Maryland that we've looked to exit. Where it was a 10-year fund. It was a 10-year deal, and we're in year 3 or 4, and we're getting crazy offers on the deal where we could actually hit and exceed our targets within 3 years. So we bought one deal up there. It was 550 units. We didn't go back and add, right? A lot of investors have this issue, right? When you go to a new marketplace and you're looking at new deals, the goal is to not just buy one deal, one and done. The goal is to stack multiple deals so you have economies of scale. In that scenario, we didn't have economies of scale. So when we get these offers, we're like, yeah, I would sell that for the right price. And so I'm always looking at deals that I would, but for the most part, the portfolio net we're buyers, and it's hard to sell deals because when you sell a deal, the hardest thing that you have to do is you have to go and find a new deal. And so we hit over the 10,000 mark, then we hit 11, now we're at 12. It's hard to get to 25,000 units when you're selling deals.
That's a great goal.
But we sell rarely.
I just watched your video while I was waiting for you. The last one you have on, or no, it's on YouTube or something like that. But it's where you received the $1.1 million check. That was like 3 years ago. Yeah. And that was an exit, right? Yeah. And that was how about that day?
So it was a 1031. So we rolled that. So I invested with Grant in 826 units in Nashville. Because
is that where it was?
Well, in my story, just to sum it up, I had 21 units. I was a pilot, right? Because I've always wanted to do real estate. Always. Like my uncle was a builder. I knew real estate was for me. I understood it. I didn't understand it, like NOIs and cap rates and all the numbers and everything else, and even the financing and the appraisal space, like what you're doing. But I knew that I could take something and control it and then have a better outcome in 5, 10, 20 years, because I noticed, my big thing that I like to pick up on is timing. A lot of people in 2008, 2009, they busted because they weren't able to hold on to the bag. They weren't able to hold on to the real estate, including my uncle. Like he ran out of money. He did his last deal. He busted out. And all of those like rain dances, those money dances that he was doing, 24 months prior, it came to a halt because, again, he didn't have the stay power. And so for me, I've always studied timing and I've always liked real estate. So I was a pilot for United at the age of 21. I started early in the flying thing. And my main focus on flying was I wanted to get around the people who were doing these bigger deals. So people are like, well, how did you transition when you were 30 years old to become Grant's pilot? It was planned.
I
wanted
higher echelon, right? You say that.
I wanted to be around the highest echelon, the people who were moving and shaking and helping people.
Yeah.
When I joined the team, I told Elena, I want to fly airplanes, do real estate, and help people. But I had 21 units. I was a pilot, and I was doing that kind of like part-time because I knew multifamily. I was buying 4-plexes and 8-plexes. And when I was 30 years old, I said, okay, what's next? Like I didn't leave aviation and flying, like the airline, as a negative thing. I was like, okay, what's next?
Yeah.
And so
kind of where I am, like where you think like, how do I get to another level?
Yeah, but you don't want to give up what you've built,
exactly.
So you want to combine them.
Yeah, exactly.
And so what I did is I called Grant. I found him on YouTube, like where this is going to go. I found Grant on YouTube.
Amazing. It's amazing.
And I said, look, I'll do whatever. Like I could fly your airplane, I could do real estate. And Grant was like, well, come do an interview. And I really didn't even meet Grant, but I knew like when you hear Grant and you hear his message and you hear what he actually stands for, he's a very impressive guy. And most people ask me like, well, is he the same in real life as he is on video? He is completely the same. He is a stand-up guy. Like there's no BS with him. Very ethical. That's one word I'll use with Grant is he's very ethical. Doesn't drink, doesn't smoke, doesn't
once in a while, right?
Once in a while,
moon, his birthday or something like that.
Yeah, but his family, like it's intact. Like family is really important to him. And what I found in a true partnership is you want to have all your ethics and values in, so you can trust people, right? But anyway, I joined his team and I started flying for Grant. I started flying his G200, and we were together every single day. And I started really watching him, how he interacted in business and with his family and everything else. And we were at Christmas dinner one time. This is probably like 7 years ago. And he was pissed off about one of his deals. And it was actually 360 units in Daphne, Alabama. And he went there, and there was like 40 units that were vacant. The management company, they were not really paying attention. Their eye wasn't on the ball.
Yeah.
And so I saw the opportunity. That was the opportunity. And I was like 4 months into my deal with him, right? Flying for him. I was with him every day. He saw I was taking care of the airplane. I was doing this. I was professional. And I looked at him. This is over Christmas dinner. I looked at him. I said, look, right now you're at 3,000 units. What if when we go back to Miami and we park this airplane, what if I came back here and rented out those 40 units in 40 days? Would you give me a shot? And he says, you would do that. And I said, Grant, that's what I'm here for. Like, I keep telling you, this is what I'm here for. The real estate thing is what I want to do. And so that's what I did. And every day we would talk on the phone. And within 14 days, I had 14 leases. And he called me. He says, get your ass back here. You are now on the real estate team as well. And on your days off, when you're not flying, you're not doing this, we're going to build a real estate company together. And you could imagine, right? This is very exciting.
Isn't that great that you didn't even have to do 40? You did 14.
I did 14 in 14 days.
I see the effort.
Yeah.
Get back here. We got things to do.
And let's focus. Let's focus on bigger things. Let's focus on bigger things.
We'll get somebody to lease those in Nashville. Or
whatever. Yeah. But what's the cool thing about this is, this is 7, 8 years ago. If you were to guess, how many people you think were on Cardone Capital's team? Just
7, 8 years ago?
Yeah,
probably one.
It was Grant and myself.
Yeah,
and we had a controller, not even a CFO, and it was just us two and her. And we've grown that now where there's 40 staff in Aventura, and then there's 350, almost 400 people across all the properties that have the 10X Living brand on them. So it's been a huge growth. But again, I think we're just getting started.
Grant's what, like 60 something?
Yeah, he's 64 years old. He acts like he's about 35.
Yeah, he's diesel right now. Right?
Yeah, he's a beast.
He took that and just turned it around. I think he was like tired of seeing Elena and all them do the kickboxing and everything, and now he's just like diesel.
Well, he got, and we own a company called 10X Health.
Yeah.
And so he's really got into his health and natural IVs and natural vitamins. He's not big on drugs and everything else. Like, he's all natural guy. And it's been impressive for me to watch him, because he's in better shape now than he was when he was 59 and 58.
Yeah, you saw it. I mean, those last, like you said, 7, 8 years. The last, I say, what, four years, he's really like stepped it up.
Put muscle on his bones and started working out. Got a gym at his house, and he took it to the next level.
So you're executive vice president right now. Carlos Rosso, related group, 18 years. This year, pulled away when they made Perez Jr. president.
Yep.
Right? So he stepped away to do his own thing. Ever thought about that?
Stepping away and doing my own thing?
Yeah. Everything that you're learning right now, right? I mean, like Brandon Turner.
Sure.
Right? Bigger Pockets.
Which I have a relationship with, and he's a great guy.
Sure, right?
He asked me the same question like 3 weeks ago, by the way.
But because he's watched Grant, he's doing the exact same thing. I watched Grant, like you were saying, Cardone Capital, one person, and how he's raised it. I mean, I used to watch him on YouTube like almost every day. Like we the Monday real estate, and then, the Wednesday with him and Elena and Jared. I think it was on Friday or something like that. Right, the whole thing. And then he did that big tour. It was right before COVID.
Yeah, the world tour.
Right? And then COVID hit, and then I think the videos and everything kind of stopped. 10X you guys still kept doing 10X, but it was like different and things, right? And even now, like, even your video production and stuff's kind of lower, and his videos production's kind of low, right? Like it's different now.
It is different.
So, and then it's almost like Brandon, kind of where he left off right prior to COVID. Brandon's kind of stepped away from the Bigger Pockets, where he grew his community, took it offline with his letter that he sends out, right?
Yep.
Where he has all the emails, and now he, Open Door Capital is just booming. And so I'm like watching him, with that trajectory. I mean, I'm sure you're in the middle of it. You see both these guys, them. Does that ever go through your head, or you're just like, number 2 is good?
Well, look,
you know what I mean? Like,
look,
nothing wrong with number 2.
Yeah, no. Look,
and then you said you'd like to be the president one day too. So
yeah, no. Look, I act every single day. I act as if I'm the president of the company, because I know that's what Grant wants me to do, and I'm not hung up on titles, and I'm not hung up on doing it myself. I know Grant obviously very well, and I know Brandon Turner well. And, you know, I know the operation that we currently have, and I know the level that we're playing at. Most of these guys, actually all of these guys who are in the crowdfunding space, do not play at our level.
No.
And even though I work with Grant and for Grant and we're partners, my deal is much bigger than anything I could ever do on my own. So to answer the question simply, I actually think that my journey and my run will be much bigger with Grant. And so, you know, I plan to build Cardone Capital to, you know, 45,000 units, 25,000 is the next level, and then 45. And, you know, Grant has treated me very well. You know, it's interesting. When you build a company with somebody, you actually become family. And it's the family you've chosen. Like I have family right now where we don't hang out every single day for a reason, because we can't stand each other, right? Like my sister, I love her to death, but if we hung out every day, we'd be butting heads. I chose Graham. I chose Elena. I chose Sabrina. I chose like this family is a model of who I want to be.
So address that.
Big.
You're from
big.
Scottsdale, Arizona, right?
Yeah.
How was that growing up? You grew up mom, dad, or how was the childhood or dynamics in the family?
So my family split. So my mom and dad split when I was 9 years old. I grew up in Chino Hills, California. I was born in Chicago. I moved to Southern California when I was 2 until 10 years old, 9.5, 10. And when my parents split, it was interesting because at first it was kind of a drag. It was like a down, like I didn't have I was living with my mother, and we moved to Scottsdale, Arizona. The key was my uncle, who helped us in that transition. He actually became a really important role in my life, and he became like a father figure to me. And we had a great run. Like he's actually the one who got me into real estate. He was the developer. He got me into flying. Like him and I were buds. We were best friends. He was a role model. He was really a key ingredient of why I am who I am today.
Is your dad not in your life anymore? Or
no, my dad's still in my life.
Okay, good.
Yeah, he's still in my life. But we never had, you know, I have so I'm the youngest of 3. And so my sister, my brother, and then me. My brother and him always, I felt anyway, they always had a stronger relationship. Okay. And when I transitioned from, you know, 10 years old to my uncle, him and I had a really, really strong bond because he always wanted a son. And so I didn't leave. I didn't say, hey, Dad, peace out, you know, forget about you. But it was just like a natural thing. Like when I saw how successful my uncle was and, you know, how he was doing in building, I attracted to that. Like I was like, okay, I've wanted to work since I was 13 years old. I talked people into giving me a job, busting tables.
That's drive, man.
It really is, but it comes from.
You were the youngest, you said?
So the youngest of 3, and so I watched
usually you get that
sister.
from the oldest, that drive.
Well, my sister, she's a true leader, right? But she's really smart. Like my sister, things come really easy to her. For me, I was not the book guy. I was not the school guy. I actually dropped out in 11th grade. I ended up going back and graduating with my class. And I've got a college degree and I've got all these, you know, great things going for me. But there's been times in my life where I'm like, okay, I want to work. Like I want to work. Like I don't want to go to school and read about this and biology and da-da-da-da. Like I want to get money. I want to get income. I want to get assets. Like I just want to, I've always wanted to be super wealthy. So again, I could help more people. And I know people are like, oh my God, this is crazy. Like da-da-da-da-da. That's really what drives me. Like,
so in 11th grade, when you picked to drop out, what was your goal at that moment?
My goal was to go get a job at Jiffy Lube and become the best salesman and start earning, I think it was like $2,000 a month. It was like, or $3,000 a month, you know.
Just build from there.
Yeah, post-tax. Because I had a car, and you know, I knew that if I started working, I can get money. Like I wanted to buy my first house when I was 17 years old, which transitions into why I started flying. Because my uncle looked at me and he's like, "Son, you have no money."
Yeah.
Like I was like, you know, I was like,
Jiffy Lube's not going to work.
Yeah, I was like, man, I want my first house. I want to rent rooms. I want to do this. I want to do this because we were rehabbing stuff back in 1992 when it wasn't even cool.
All right.
Like we would.
So you were already thinking of like house hacking and stuff.
Well, because he showed me how to do it. My uncle was house hacking back in the early 90s. Like we would buy, you know, duplexes and we buy houses, and he was building homes and he was doing this, and so that's how I was able to achieve. He would always hang these carrots in front of me. And this is what Grant still does to me today. He's like, how do I get you to this? How do I get you to a millionaire? How do I get you to 5 million? How do I get you to 10 million? How do I get you to 50? And those carrots have always worked for me.
Yeah.
And so that's what my uncle did when I was a young guy. And
he's got to be so proud, man.
Well, he is.
Is he still here in line?
Yeah. He's still here. You know, we're not like buds anymore.
Oh, that's sad, but I mean, things happen.
Well, what happens in life is you start running at a fast enough pace where you really start to realize, you know, who wants to run at the fast pace. If not everybody's running at a fast pace, you know, that tempo, it's like when you go home for vacation and for holiday, you're like, okay, these paces are different. Sometimes you got to slow down just to kind of have a normal conversation
I don't
at
like
the
to
dinner
slow
table.
down. Yeah.
Nobody, I hate it.
Yeah. He knows. We like to go.
Yeah. Most of us young, hungry entrepreneurs, we never want to slow down.
Yeah. And you got to get the right people on your bus to go with you.
Totally.
You know, and create that energy. So that's, wow, 11th grade. So then you just went back and got your degree online and then went forward with that? Well, so your uncle got you into aviation?
Yeah. So I dropped out.
God.
I got a job. Yeah, no,
right?
aviation
That's
really
a
saved
pivot right there.
Yeah, so aviation saved my life. And so I dropped out and I met a girl and she was in high school. She was a year younger than me. And she says, man, she's like, you have so much potential. She's like, you have, like, I see it. And that was like the first time that, you know, anybody was telling me like, man, you know, I see something in you.
Yeah. Especially the opposite sex,
cool.
right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. This is like, you know, we were high school sweethearts and, you know, she was amazing. She was beautiful. And when she said that, I was like, man, what am I thinking? And so I called the teacher who was helping me out, which her name is Leslie Last, and she's still in Arizona. We have a great relationship still today. And I called her. I said, what if I came back to school? Would you help me complete 2 years in one? And that became a game to me. And that's really where I hook in. I hook into games. And she's like, yeah, if you would work during school, I'll give you the extra courses that you miss in your junior year. If you complete all those, I will make sure that you graduate with your class. I walk with my class. I wasn't planning on going to college. I was 18 years old. My uncle said, hey, let's start going flying because he bought an airplane. My uncle did because he always wanted to be a commercial airline pilot. He never did. He got scared of flying. He took off one day, and he couldn't find the airport on the way back.
That's scary, man.
It's scary, right? But he bought an airplane, a little Cessna, and he said, hey, if you want to go flying with me, you know, on the weekends, we can go grab hamburgers. And, you know, we'd fly from Mesa, Arizona to Payson.
You're like, hell yeah, I'm
well, at first I was like, yeah, let's do it. You know, I was like, this is cool. It's a motor. I was racing. I was doing motocross. I was doing racing. And I was like, you know, airplanes are fast. And so I started flying, It wasn't boring, but, you know, like you have to really get grooved into flying and get good at it for it to be a real cool sport, right? So he was trying to help me and teach me and do all this stuff. And one day I looked at him, I said, man, I can get paid to do this? Like I'm working at all these different jobs, like getting hired and fired and quitting and doing this because they weren't fulfilling. And he's like, yeah, you could actually get paid $125,000 or $150,000, you know, once you build a little seniority flying airplanes. And he's like, by the way, you could fly jets. And then once he said jets, I thought of flight attendants. And when I thought of flight attendants, I thought of girls. And when I thought of girls, I thought of fun. And so with those four things, I said, well, shit, sign me up.
I'm in. Yeah.
I'm in. And so from that day forward, I was so hooked that I was 18 years old. And I was like, I'm going to go all in. I'm going to go for it. I'm going to quit my job. I'm going to go to school. This school that I found, they said within 2 years, we'll get you prepped, ready to rock. You can go get hired at a regional, so that way you can get hired on at United. I did it. Everybody else was having fun, doing their games, doing all this stuff. I went to ground school. I flew. I went to ground school. I flew. I went to ground school. I flew. That's all I did.
So what did you? So you just find it's like $100,000, right, to go to flight school?
All in, it was $140,000.
140
grand.
And you,
for the college education.
Your mom co-signed or something, or your uncle co-signed or something?
So interesting enough, my mom, so my mom co-signed for me. My uncle was like, you know, just take it slow, you know, and do your private and do your instrument, do your commercial. I was like, nope, I'm going for it. I'm like, I'm all in. And so I co-signed. I got a loan for $100,000. And so I had an apartment that was literally right down the street from the airport. And I flew and did ground school twice a day. And within 2 years, I was ready to rock.
So you had no part-time job or anything while you were doing that?
Zero. It was the best thing. Yeah. It was one of the best cheats and things for me because I wasn't distracted. Like people who think that they can do 2 things and 3 things, like you, especially that profession, like this school actually trained me to become a professional airline pilot. And so I was running the same checklist and I was doing the same procedures and I was doing the commands and the responses. Like aviation, there's so many acronyms and terminology and certain processes and procedures that they want you to follow. Like in order to get hired on by an airlines, they want you to be that person. Like they don't want to bring you in with a shitty record and you know, no communication skills and all that stuff because it just takes so long to get you spooled up. So by the age of 21, I was ready to rock. And I started interviewing for these airlines and they were stacking them up, right? Boom, 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 boom. Some of them I didn't get the job. And then some of them I did get the job. And so
So
I
the
picked
school
one.
was supplying you with opportunity after
Of course.
Yeah.
Of course. Yeah.
Nice.
But it was different back then. Like the first year you made 50 grand or 60 grand if you were lucky, because they when you go to pilot training, they pay for your training, which is like 40 grand, you know, for your type rating to train in the first airplane I flew was a jet. It was a CRJ 700. It was 70 passengers. It had first class, it had economy, and we ran routes all over the US, Canada, and Mexico. And so that was the first jet. It was $40 million. I was 21 years old. Wow. I was feeling pretty good about myself. It was like one of those pinch me moments. And I took advantage of the opportunities. I worked my ass off. I flew. I almost had 10,000 hours by the time I hit 30 years old.
And is that the level, 10,000?
Well, I mean, 10,000 hours is for sure a level of professionalism, right? You read the book like Outliers and everything else. I mean, I think 10,000 hours is massive, especially when you think about it.
I didn't know if that was like a threshold in flying or whatever.
Well, I mean,
it doesn't matter. Right?
When some guys retire, they'll have like 20 hours or 20,000 and 30,000 hours, but that's at the age of 65 years old. By the age of 30 years old, I had 10,000 hours. I mean, I have more time on the start button, meaning starting the engines, than most people have in flying. Like that's all I did. All I did, and this goes back to the trend that I live even today. All I care about is growing the company, growing the business,
the growth mindset. Yeah,
mindset.
I hear everything you're saying. Yeah, absolutely. And that's what propels you and motivates you and inspires you and keeps you going
and puts you in place to actually take advantage of some of these opportunities that people are missing out on.
Yeah.
You know, most people are like, "Oh, you want me to do this? Okay, I'll do this." Instead of saying, "Oh, you want me to do this? What else can I do for you though?" Like, damn, you want me to go and run this deal, but do you have other deals? Like, can I run 10 deals? Like, most people's bandwidth just gets restricted by their own thinking. You know, I know that. Yeah, their own internal limitations that have been put on them. Like, oh my God, you're thinking about the weekends. You know, my thing on Friday is, damn, it's 2 days until Monday. It's 2 days until Monday. Let's go.
Yeah, I work all weekends. Taylor got really into flying. His family. I think one of his uncles is a flight instructor.
Who's Taylor?
My son.
Oh, okay.
And then his uncle became a flight pilot for commercial airlines. So he was thinking about it. We got him the simulation and everything like that. But it was kind of like what you said. It kind of got a little boring in the beginning, you know. And then he never got. And then we didn't know that. We thought that he could do it without having a career in it, like learn it without having a career in it.
Yeah.
But it was kind of like what you were saying is like, it's $100,000. You got to go all in. Yeah. And that's what we said to him. Like, you know, no, if this is going to be a hobby, you know what I mean? Like, it's an expensive hobby.
Yeah. Well, no, look, it's an expensive hobby, but what I'm going to tell you right now is that even if it's a hobby, it's still worth it.
Yeah.
I've met so many. I mean, I met Grant Cardone because I was his pilot.
Yeah.
And so it unlocks so many opportunities. Like when you go to the FBI, think about this for a second. When you go to the FBI, when you go to the airport terminal, you meet a bunch of who? You meet a bunch of people who are employees and traveling and like they're working for a company, right? When you go to an FBO, you meet people who are running companies, who are owners of companies, who are very successful. And I think it's overlooked that aviation, you know, it's such a community, man. Like when I first started flying airplanes, I was the fuel guy. And what inspired me is I was fueling these airplanes. So I would drive the fuel truck when I was 18 years old. Because not only did I go to school and learn how to fly and everything else, I actually went back to the airport and I got a job at the airport.
Oh, okay.
So people are like, man, how are you so involved? Like I was doing like everything. I lived at the airport. And so I got a job with the guy who had a hangar. It was a company called Air West. And this is how I built my time.
See, that's what makes you a good guy, bro.
Totally.
Because you're like, put my sleeves up.
I'm all in.
I'm getting in there.
Dude, I used to sweep his floors, and then I asked him, I said, hey, are there any mechanics? And I don't want to get too deep into these stories, you know, like I want to move on. But I am so committed, like, and I'll do whatever. Like people ask me, like, well, what do you do? I said, anything from finding a deal to raising the money to sweeping the floors to helping wherever I can. Like, and that's who I am. Like, I don't care if I'm at the top or the bottom. I'm just going to do the job. And I don't wait for people. Like, if somebody doesn't want to sweep, give me the damn broom. I'm going to sweep for you. But I was, like, that's how I built my time, though, in my early age.
Let's talk about your first deal.
Yeah.
How did you, what was it? I mean, it was probably single family or duplex or something like that. How'd you finance it is what I really want to know.
So my first deal was right after 2008, 2009. So it was a single family home. It was 4 bedrooms in Phoenix, Arizona. It sold for like 325 grand. I bought it for 120. I got the tax credit. It was a 3-bedroom. I converted it into 4. I rented out 3 rooms. I stayed in the master bedroom. All in cost was $750, $800. I had $1,200 coming in from income. I would go back there as the pilot. I was traveling a lot. I kept the master when I wanted to go back. I would stay at the house. And,
but now you're making $50,000 a year, 60 right now?
Yeah, I'm making probably
it's hard to
80
save
grand.
at that
I'm making probably 80 grand.
Okay.
Yeah. But I've always been a saver, right? Like I'm not a crazy spender. And so I started with a single family house. But what I realized is that I didn't want to live with people.
Yeah.
I didn't want to live with roommates and renting it out bedrooms for $400. And that wasn't like a business model for me. And so I went and my second deal was a 4-plex. And that 4-plex, I went and I bought it I put it under contract for 150 grand. It was a 55 and older community. This is why I always tell the team and Grant, I love old people. Like I really do. Like my first lease in my 4-plex, the lady told me her name was Donna. And she says, the next time you're gonna, the way I'm gonna move out is you're gonna have to take me out in a bag. I'm gonna die here at this place. Like and the rent was like $550, $600. And I said, Donna, I love you, number one. And number two, I can't do a 5-year lease. I'll do a 2-year lease. But, the law prohibits me from.
Lease.
Dude, she wanted a 20-year lease. Dude, I'm like, God bless you. But that's really what got me into real estate and the motivating piece, because I was like, man, I could buy this deal. I'm all in for $1,200, $1,300, and it was like the 50% rule, right? Like I can go in there and raise rents and collect, 50% expenses, the other 50% income, and so I was making like $1,200 a month on that one 4-plex. And then I talked to the neighbor because I saw him out there.
And on the 2 deals, you're the only equity? That's it?
Yeah, all my deals were just me.
All of yours?
All my deals were just me.
So you would save up the equity to go buy it?
I ended up doing some seller financing and some master leases and some, assumptions and some different ways that I got deals. But for the most part, if I had a partner, they didn't want to hang in the whole time, so I ended up buying them out in certain things, right? But I always had money because I had the income. I had the income from the pilot to do what I wanted to do. Because again, I've always thought long term. Like I wasn't thinking about fix and flip. But like that 4-plex, I saw the neighbor. He was the owner. He was out there picking the weeds, and I was like, damn. I was like, you're getting really old to be picking weeds. What if I did? Bought this deal from you and you did seller financing and you still got the income and you didn't have to do the work. You have to do He's like, no way, Ryan. I called him back 2 weeks later. Have you thought about that? What if I did this? What if I did this? And he's like, you know what? I've been thinking about this, man. And he's like, I don't know if I'm there yet, but I said, look, let's break it down. I said, you're paying this in expense. You're doing this. You're doing this. What if I can get you X dollars and I'll pay you 50 grand more than what I bought the deal next door for? And he's like, you know what? Let's do it. And so he ended up giving me seller financing. So I made the 4 units into 8 units. I ended up selling both those deals for 600 grand. And I was all in for like 300 or 350. Nice. And so those were some of my first deals.
3 deals. Yeah.
Yeah, that was 1, 2. And then I bought a 3-plex on the street. And then I bought a 4-plex in Chandler. And then I did a master lease in Phoenix on a 4-plex. And so I was just creative because I went through all the courses too. People think that I just skipped into becoming like this great real estate guy managing $5 billion worth of assets. Like, cause that's my role today, right? Like my role is oversight on $5 billion worth of assets, 12,000 units, all class A. And,
sounds good.
And it's phenomenal, but there's a lot of responsibility to that.
Of course.
But I went through all the courses, from Kiyosaki's to Lindahl's to X, Y, and Boo Boos and Dadas and da-da-da. Like I went to all of them because there was always something else that I could learn. It's the growth. Mentality. Yeah. And I wanted to be around the right people.
Wow. What's the timeline from buying that first one to where you
21 units? It was 5 years.
5 years. Okay.
Yeah. So I was 25 years old because I was 5 years into my career at the airlines, and I was 25 years old, and I said, you know what, it's time to get back into real estate.
You were managing them all yourself?
Yeah, I was managing myself because again, I thought I could make some money. I thought I could make an extra squeeze.
Yeah.
But these are all the mistakes that I try to help people with today. Like we have a real estate club, right? And every Wednesday I get on the call with, sometimes Grant's there, sometimes he's not, but I run these calls for Grant. And every Wednesday we underwrite deals, and I show people how to make offers on deals, how to get the right management, how to make the right assumptions, how to do the underwriting, how to do all that stuff. And then we also have these events where we have a Bring Your Deal workshop, right? I just spent 2 days last week where we went over 21 deals in person. And some deals worked and a lot of deals didn't, but it's real eye-opening to people because when you look at enough deals like you and me, like I've looked at thousands of deals. I've shopped tens of thousands of units. I've been with Grant for almost 9 years.
Yeah.
Like to get to 12,000 units, you've got to shop 30,000 units to get 12.
How many of you guys buy a year now?
Well, last year, so like in the last 7 months, we've bought 2,400 units.
But how does that break down the properties?
So like, what's the average deal?
I mean, I guess you're 300, 350, right? 350
per units. Yeah. I mean, look, our average deal is like 100 to 150 million bucks.
Yeah.
Last year we did 2 deals that were 250 million and each. And the deal size just depends on the actual deal and the location.
Did you guys slow down a little bit during COVID?
So initially we slowed down during COVID because, the market kind of came to a stop. But 60 days, and it's interesting because COVID's different than what's currently happening right now. COVID was interesting because we saw the printing of money, and we actually saw cap rates compress.
Right. True.
And we also saw the renter having more money because they were getting the printing of money, right?
Yeah.
And so we actually got some great deals. Like, we ended up doing 5 deals during COVID. We bought the UBS building in Aventura, which is 220,000 square feet, 11 stories. UBS.
Yeah, the office.
The whole thing was like 85% occupied. It's currently 92%. We did Port Royale, which is 551 units in Fort Lauderdale. It's in Port Royale. Ended up getting that deal for a great price, right? Appreciation has gone through the roof. We bought a deal in Fort Lauderdale from a real top group. And so we were working deals. We ended up doing about 5 deals during COVID. And then we started slowly seeing, that landscaping change, and we kept doing deals. But now we actually, like 4 months ago, when all this stuff started to happen with the debt markets, we actually walked away from a number of deals. And at first there was a lot of pushback, but now people are like, damn, you guys were actually the first to really kind of see the market coming. And so although you don't want to walk away from deals, sometimes you got to know when to hold them, know when to fold them, know when to walk away, and know when to run.
Retrade, huh?
Well,
Cap rate a little bit, 25 bips.
The retrade thing is typically not looked at very great, and I don't believe
you're not a closer then, right?
Well, I don't believe in retrades, right? For me, what happened like in this last deal, like 5 months ago, 6 months ago, is the debt went from 283% to right now it's 4.5 on a good day.
Is that what you guys are at
to 5%? Yeah. And so when you have that spread of 150 basis points or a point and a half in your debt, you no longer can make a 3 cap or a 3.5 cap work. And what I was going to say is, whether it's called a retrade or walking away, the one thing that we cannot do is buy a bad deal. We have investors. We have almost 10,000 investors right now that look to us as, fiduciary responsibility to make sure that we buy great deals. And so, and I won't name drop the deals that we were doing and the names and because they were big names. They were the top institutions in the world. But even those guys walked away from deals 30 days later, and after giving us a hard time about it, they ended up walking away from deals. They ended up retrading and then walking away from deals.
So does that, whoever owns that, whether it's institutional, Blackstone, whoever, right? Are they just refinancing it and keeping it, holding it?
Depends. It depends on the deal. Some people.
Is that what you guys are seeing though? Like if the deal doesn't make sense, does the buyer just, or the whatever that sponsor is, do they keep it or do they lower the price or lower up at the cap rate or what's? So
it depends. It's each deal specific.
Because the debt coverage ratio is what's coming into play, right?
Yeah. So I am seeing from a seller standpoint, a lot of guys were like, well, hey, I'm going to wait. Right. I'm going to wait until the market kind of settles out and the debt kind of settles in. And we all thought that it was going to, right? But then you had the war and then you had these restrictions and you had all these restraints and there's a lot of things going on. And then you had the tightening of the market from the Fed, right? Which is a big, huge impact on the economy, right? I mean, do I think we're already in a recession? Probably. Do I think we're moving into a steeper one? I do.
Yeah. They say like a technical recession, right? We've had the 2 quarters of negative GDP. So technically, we're in a recession.
And it
then
catches
plus
up.
With all the stuff you guys are dealing with, the capital, and the quantitative easing off and Feds raising the rates, trying to, probably up to 2.75 going into 2023. So all that is really affecting you, especially when you guys are doing those low cap rates.
Well, it's crazy. They don't work. They don't work anymore because you're going negative leverage. What people don't understand is
the only time that works, this is what someone told me was, a multifamily guys, but not you guys, because you guys are Class A. The only times that negative leverage would work is you'd have to have value add. So if you'd be able to go negative leverage, first two years, right? And if you can get that rent growth 3, 4, 5th, in the 5th year. Yeah. But like you guys, Class A, you're not getting a ton of rent growth, right?
There's a couple different key things, right? So we're getting a huge rent increase on Class A, actually probably more than the value add. Although I do value add, like people don't think of me and Grant as a value add company. We will do value add if the deal makes sense. We bought 600 townhomes in Weston. We're doing value add. We're spending $30,000 a unit. We're getting $1,200 to $1,500 rent increase, right? Nice. But what happens is, so in these deals, you've got the rents, which is the first thing, but you also got to think about the two biggest expenses, which are taxes and insurance. We're right now seeing in the multifamily space that taxes are going up and insurance is going up. And so although you're getting these huge increases, you got to keep up with the taxes and insurance, and then also now with the debt. And so you got all these headwinds. It's no longer just all tailwinds.
Coupled with, you guys just went through a 26% increase of rents.
Totally.
So rents are, I mean, the last 3 properties here in Miami I've walked, more newly developed, last couple of years, people moving out. Now, people are always going to move out because of affordability, right? That's why people move.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And with such low vacancy rates right now in the market, so robust, that they're going to go find another. They're basically just trading on themselves, right? Yeah. They're going to find another building to move into, and we're going to find other tenants to move into that Class A stuff, especially with the migration of the tech and everything that's coming here, which is great, fantastic, right?
And if you think about San Diego too, the average, the rent, if you think about rents, right? The average rent is $4,610 in San Diego.
$4,610.
Average rent is $4,610.
For a what?
For a 2-bedroom, a 1.5 to 2-bedroom apartment in San Diego. Okay.
Yeah.
And so when you start breaking it down, this is for Class A. I'm not saying this is Class B and C, but for something that you and I would live in, it's $4,600. And so rents today in Miami, although they've grown 20-30%, I actually think they're still relatively low on the grand scheme of things. You know, I got rents right now in Class A Miami River. They're $3,000. They're $2,800. Effective in place right now is still $2,600. It's still relatively affordable when you think about the 3x of income, right? Or you know, the qualifications for income. You know, we see in California, 50% of people's income is actually spent on rent. We're here in South Florida still 25 and 30 and 35%.
It's climbing though.
There's
There's new reports out that Miami's getting cost of living is high, and we were just talking about this the other day because we were doing back of the napkin rent or affordability for tenants and stuff like that. And you know, for someone to pay, I forget what it was, if to pay $2,000 for rent, you have to make like $100,000. So it's like between 80 and 100 or something like that, which is 3 times. You know.
So $2,000 a month rent.
Yeah.
It's 3 times is $6,000.
Yeah.
Times 12, it's $72,000 or whatever it is.
Yeah. So I mean, it's doable, and I mean, and in the places that you guys are buying and stuff like that, they're better incomes.
Yeah.
You know, it's better quality.
I mean, we run the rent roll, and in most of these,
cost of living is getting up.
No, and
South Florida.
I'm not saying it's not, but what I'm saying is that Miami and South Florida, it's evolving into a place where people are willing to pay more. And so, you know, we saw during COVID, you know, because you brought up COVID, it's a good example, right? We were very intense on management, right? You know, we were heads down, focused on communications with our residents and managing a portfolio of 12,000 units. I mean, there's a lot of comm that goes back and forth. When I say comm, I mean communication, emails going out, collecting rents. And we wanted to make sure, because we were tracking everything. We were tracking collections, we were tracking concessions, we were tracking renewals.
Delinquencies.
Delinquencies, massive, right? In our properties,
how'd y'all do? Pretty good.
So we did phenomenal, right? Because I look at properties on the T12, and they're like, you know, huge delinquencies. Like 40% of the people were either late or not paying. We actually had a relatively low, as under 10% on the majority of our deals. I don't think any went above that, and some of them were, you know, 3 and 4%, especially like in Naples and these high growth markets, right? But what we saw was that renewals were 80 to 90%. Some were well into the 90s because nobody wanted to move, right? Rents were flat. Some were, you know, because we were saying, hey, look, let's not push rents. Let's not do.
I was going to ask you that.
Yeah,
because stay flat. That's nice.
We stayed flat, and actually, what we did is we actually implemented where if people wanted to prepay their rent, they could, and we'd give them a discount.
Wow.
And so we were trying to be forward thinking in the fact that we want these residents to not only feel good, but we want them to stay.
Yeah.
And you know, but again, we managed the hell out of that portfolio during COVID. And when we look back, you know, we could have even been not pushing rents, but we could have been even stronger on our rent growth, because again, we were like, hey, look, let's just collect rents, let's pay. We were 96.8, 97% collection rate on all of our Class A and Class B plus. I mean, that's huge.
Yeah, I'm sure you had some interesting meetings on when that went down of like, how are we going to manage this occupancy? How are we going to keep this up? I mean, you saw like Grant's, what he did on social media, like right when COVID came out, you know, and like everyone's laid off or whatever.
Yeah.
Like he went, like, you know,
Yeah.
I don't say crazy, but like
he was doing a TV show at the time.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Undercover Billionaire.
Yeah, that's right.
And so some of his characters that he was playing in the Undercover Billionaire, because they dropped him off in Pueblo, Colorado, gave him $100, said, hey, you got to make this $1 million business within 90 days.
Yeah, I watched that.
30 days later, he got sent back here to Miami because COVID got shut down. He did all these videos. Oh, I'm going bankrupt. I'm doing this. Because he was actually still playing the character of the guy Undercover Billionaire. But people took him so serious and the thing went viral on, you know, like, Grant's going because people want, I mean, look, you and me both know this. Most people who are successful, some people are going to look at me saying, oh my God, I can't wait for this guy to fail. Other people, 30%.
Do you feel that? You feel like that, really?
Well, I mean,
you don't think people are pushing for you?
I mean, so 30% of the people are pushing for me. 30% of the people are not pushing for me. And the other 30% just don't give a, you know what?
Yeah.
That's the way.
That's the radar.
That's the way. That's the way the society's set up. It's like to become president, you don't need to worry about the whole 100%. You got to worry about the 30% of the people who love you, and then the 30% of people who don't care. These 30%, they're never going to be your fans.
Yeah.
I mean, even you've got haters. I mean, most people are like, "Oh, you don't have haters. You're such a nice guy." Even you have people who are like, "Man, I can't wait for this guy to fail. David's going to fail one day."
Yeah, I don't even think about it. Yeah, you're right. You don't even care about converting a hater. Like, I just want to make new friends.
It's fuel.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's fuel.
I want to meet the new people that are happy out there and, you know, making it happen.
Doing shit.
Wow, that's cool, man. That's cool. I like that you guys managed and put your heads together to think about that forward thinking of occupancy, because we talked about that a lot when I was out there, you know, talking to owners and things and appraising. And like, what are you doing? How are you feeling? What's the, you know, the temperature? What's going on out here? And it's good to hear from your guys' stance, having so many units under. Man. So 25,000 is a big number, Ryan. It's a big number.
Oh, for apartment units?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a great goal, though.
I mean, look,
I love it.
Yeah, look, 25,000 apartment units. It's double what we currently have. And I think we'll do it within 3 years. I think we're going to do it like, you know, maybe with even, you know, 2.5 to 3 years. That's kind of like my outside date, but we may even do it sooner. I mean, you know, we raise from all retail and all, you know, this is the fundraising part, right? So we raise from all retail investors. So we have a lot of high net worth individuals who want to have equity in our deals. And the way we set up Cardone Capital was actually where, you know, you invested with us. It's an LLC and you had all the benefits as an accredited investor, right? So we got guys coming in for 500 grand, $1 million, $5 million, $10 million and more. You know, my highest investor right now has got about 16.5 million bucks invested with us across these deals. And those are the people who really like that's our core group of investors. You know, a lot of guys have, you know, 5 million, 7 million plus. Now we do have the non-accredited where you could do $5,000.
You guys are still doing that? I thought you just did it once.
Well, we still do it. Yeah. So we this is our third non-accredited. They've all been successful. But the reason why we keep doing them is because when I was an airline pilot, I made 150 grand a year on my best year. And technically I was not accredited because on the accredited level, you got to make 200 grand if you're married, 300 grand, and it's or $1 million, not including your primary residence, right? So all of that to say, I have a fight in this for the little guy because I am a little guy. Grant, he has a fight in this because he is a little guy. Elena, we're all like we all want to fight for everybody.
Oh, that's nice.
And
I wondered about that one day. I was like, man, you know, I remember when it came out non-accredited, and then I never really heard about it anymore. But that's cool that you guys are still doing that.
Well, look, so our retail, we go direct to retail, right? So our fees are low. Everybody likes it. You know, the deals we're setting up, it's structured phenomenal. It's not a REIT. It's not a piece of paper. And so the accredited fund, the guys get all the guys and girls, they get all the benefits. They get the equity, they get the cash flow, they get the appreciation, they also get the tax benefits. And so what I was saying with this is that we have now grown to where we have a huge base where it's not going to take us as long to go to 12,000 units as it is to go to 25,000 units. And so that's what I'm excited about, is because we've done things right, we've structured things right, we continue to do things right and structure things right. And so we'll go to 25,000 units. Yeah, is it a big number? For some people. For me, it's not. Is 50,000 a big number? For some people. For me, it's not. Like, we will be at 100,000 units because that's the think. And that's actually when you, it's powerful, man. When you speak something into existence, our first goal was 10,000 units. Our first goal.
Yeah.
The dinner that I told you about over Christmas, our first goal was
3 years ago then.
No, this is like 8 years ago.
Oh, okay.
For Christmas, my first deal.
Yeah.
For Christmas, our first deal was when we get to 10,000 units, man, this is really like the next level.
We're living now.
We blew past 10,000 units, went straight to 12. And now it's, okay, 25, 35, 45. So it's like the same way you eat an elephant, one bite at a time. Let's go. We got time, baby. We got time.
Let's fucking go, right?
We got time.
Yeah.
Do
you think that you guys will have to expand the search, or do you think that they're developing enough in the Sun Belt to keep up with that demand that you guys will need to, reach your goals?
So the portfolio will continue to grow outside of Florida, 1,000%. Geographically, we like, and that's why we went to Maryland as well. But we will go Carolinas, Alabama, Georgia. We like Atlanta. We've been looking really heavy in Atlanta. We'll go all the way out to Arizona. So we will continue on the Sun Belt, and we'll go out to Phoenix, Arizona. We've looked at a few deals in California. Although we say we never go back to California, there are some great deals, underrated markets that have tremendous rent growth. So wherever there's money to be made, we're going to go. But we do believe in the Sun Belt, where people are moving to. Those are the markets we believe in.
Mm-hmm.
So,
are you and Grant still walking the properties first?
Of course. Yeah.
There's no other teams. You guys don't have other teams yet doing that?
Well, we have other teams doing that. Like, we have acquisition analysts and due diligence and everything else. But
they'll fly out and see a
sure.
property if you guys can't fly out.
Yeah, no, yeah, but each deal that we close on,
mm-hmm.
either Grant or myself will physically go and visit the property. There's no wavering from the underwriting, the frontline deal points, the negotiation of the contract. Like Grant and myself, we stay very, very involved. PSA contracts, I stay very involved. I got an ace of an attorney who's based in Houston, Texas. Him and I have done over $4.5 billion worth of transactions together. We know what each other want. We stay involved. He tells me the high points. He knows what he needs to do to find the solution. We get it done. But we don't delegate the most important things that fundamentally grow the business. And I'm not hyping or over talking it. It's like, when you buy a deal for $125 million, you just got to go and show up. You got to be there to check that final box.
How many different groups are you guys competing with at that level?
Well, I mean, it used to be 10, 15, 20 groups, all the way from Blackstone to, private equity shops similar to ours. I know that's shrunk in the last, call it 30, 60, 90 days, where a lot of these institutions maybe are sitting on the sidelines, maybe waiting for some trades, maybe doing this. And then also some of these syndicators. It's interesting, when you have an excited market, a lot of these syndicators, capitalized well or not, sometimes the seller will give them a run at deals, like Brandon Turner, right? Brandon Turner's relatively new into the syndication space. Super new, right? Yeah. And so he's had some success because he was willing to overpay. Whether you want to believe it or not, this is what happens in the real world, right? In order for you to give me an opportunity, I got to overpay by $500 or $1 million. Sometimes even we still have to do that to beat out a big group.
Yeah, I've heard Grant talk about that many times.
Yeah,
overpaying. Sure.
Yeah, sure. But by $500 grand or $1 million, some of these syndicators got to overpay by $4 million to get a deal. And what the seller says is, roll the dice. I'm getting $4 million. If they don't close, it's a false start. Yeah, but I'll go back to the second guy and take a $2 or $3 million haircut. But it's still worth giving that guy a chance. And when you're raising the money, right, because 506C has changed all that stuff, where you go on social media, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, all that stuff, and say, hey, look, I got a new deal. You want to raise money? That's really opened up a lot of channels for these guys to raise some capital. I just hope that most people are capitalized. And it goes back to your thing, like, hey, would you ever start your own deal? I have a lot of confidence in Grant, and his balance sheet is really strong. And so I'm able to do things that I would not be able to do on my own, where with Grant, I've got this power, man. Like, we can go and do a portfolio. See, I'm not thinking about one deal anymore. I'm thinking about, how do we go and take down 6 deals, 7 deals, 8 deals. We closed, it was like $750 million in December of last year, same day. That's what you're able to do with partners. Partners are underestimated, man. Like, when you find the right partner, I'll become a billionaire faster with Grant than by myself, because he's already a billionaire. Like, you understand that, right? Like
just your drive. I just wanted to ask that. I mean, obviously you're like got the best wingman, right?
Totally.
So it's like, but you have this drive in you. So I wanted to ask you that, like, if you saw, you see how it works.
Yep.
You know what I mean? If you ever were just like, man, I could grow that much faster myself.
Yep.
If I did it over here.
Yeah.
But I understand, like, me myself, if I was in your position, I would hang with the big dog and, like, ride that one up and do, is like you were saying, let's do 25, let's do 35, let's do 45 units. Let's go.
Totally. It's going to end up being bigger for me.
Yeah.
But,
I agree.
But and this is interesting, because a lot of people that I grew up with, they would think that owning 100% of the fourplex was actually the right thing to do.
Yeah.
But it goes back. Remember you start out with, hey, I remember this video of 1.1 million bucks.
Yeah, 400,000.
So 400 grand was the equity out of the 21 units. And I paid tax of 100 grand. So I had 500 grand equity. I ended up with 400 grand. I literally wrote a check to Grant for 400 grand.
Was that hard? I mean,
oh, dude, it was difficult. I was like, I mean,
imagine, right?
I mean, it was like
all your money.
It was like, I'm 30 years old. I worked hard for this. I had control. I had 100%. And I said, you know what? There's something about this though that makes a whole lot of sense. It's 826 units. He's giving me, like it wasn't like a piece of paper. Like I was on the LLC. Like I had a percent owner of this, and it was big. It was almost 1,000 units. So I was like, I would never be able to get 1,000 units on my own, right? And also, I no longer had to be the property manager. And so that's what really excited me. Yeah, I was terrified, but I was like, man, I don't want to answer the phone anymore. I don't want to do leases. I don't want to do complaint calls. I don't want to do maintenance calls because I was doing all that. And so when I wrote that check, I said, here you go, control. You got to keep in mind, right? Like I'm still actively involved. And so I saw the deals. I saw the numbers. I got behind the scenes. And so although I was terrified, I knew that what I was doing is I made the right decision because I've already underwrote the deals. I was managing the deals. I was managing the regionals. I was doing all this stuff. I was very active. But within under 3 years, that 400 grand,
that's
literally,
what I was gonna say.
we
that's a
flipped it
fast
out.
exit though, right? So when you gave that $400,000, you were like, this is gone for now 7 or 10 years.
Totally.
And you were like, well, let's get back to work. And like, that's it. But then you guys exit in 3 years and then payday.
Well, we rolled it too. Like we rolled it into another deal in Austin, Texas, which now, we bought that deal, I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago. It was $225 a unit. It was $2 million views, meaning that it's in Austin, Texas. It was 456 units. It's on this hilltop, 88 acres. It was Gables Residential is the seller. They were back. Actually, USAA was the equity on that deal.
That's a great price now, right? $225 a unit. Jesus.
Oh, it's phenomenal price. I mean, we could probably sell that for $350, maybe even $400 grand a unit. Yeah. And so that 1 million, that 1.1 that I completely rolled into is now worth $3 to $4 million bucks. And so this is the cool. This is the great thing about real estate that most people don't even think with is that when you invest $1 million. Number one, the day, because we was like 65% leveraged, the day that I invested, it controlled $3 million worth of real estate, which is cool. But now that it's appreciated, I think that 1 million is turned into 2.5, 3 million, maybe even $4 million bucks. And so you start thinking about net worth. That's my goal. My goal is cash flow, and then net worth, and then long-term financial freedom. And that's what we've been able to achieve, not only for Grant, not only for myself, but also for investors. I mean, these investors, they like the cash flow.
Wow. I'm so glad to hear that you rolled it. Yeah.
I've rolled everything. I've rolled every penny that I make, I invest right next to the investors.
Yeah. Skin in the game, right?
Totally.
So what's a day in the life of you?
I wake up. I try to do workouts in the morning.
Just your gym in your condo building?
Yeah, it's phenomenal.
Your own routine, or do you do an app, or what do you do?
I just do my own routine. I've been working out since I was 18 years old, so I have, I try to change the routine up. I like to do cardio. I like to do weights. I typically stay, between 175 and 180. I like natural supplements. I like vitamins. I do all that stuff. I'm really big on
martial arts or anything like that.
No martial arts. I mean, I don't have a lot of time to do all that stuff. I do like it. I would do boxing and kickboxing, all that stuff. But it's just I don't have the time right now for it. Eventually, I'll do more of that stuff. I'm really big right now into cold plunges. So I have an ice machine. It's a commercial grade. I have it right next to the bathtub. I fill it up every morning. It's 50 degrees. I do 3 to 7 minutes in that. Wakes me up, shocks the body.
Nice.
I'm ready for the next. But I go to work. I go to the office every single day. Every day that I'm here, when I'm not, traveling with Grant, looking at deals, doing a show that he's talked me into and he's brought me in on, which is a huge benefit for all of us, right? Because again, we were talking about content. The more people know you, the more they follow you, the more they trust you, and so that's been phenomenal. It's called the Real Estate King. And so it helps us in the Cardinal Capital because we're able to show people.
Can you talk about it? Like what is it about?
Yeah, of course. So he bought a company called 10X Productions, and we have 5 shows right now from entrepreneurship to real estate, and also kids entrepreneur show. But what we do is we go out and shoot our own TV shows. Like he self-funded 10X Productions, and so we're shooting the shows that we want. In like an episode would typically take a big company 2 weeks or 30 days to shoot a show, right? An episode. We shoot it in 3 days. And so what we've done is we've brought in Grant's high vigor and excitement and enthusiasm into the production space where we can go and shoot a show in 3 to 6 days or 2 to 3 days, and we're going to do 10 episodes of each one of these shows. And so we'll drop them on YouTube, Roku, or these big names that we're pitching it to. They probably are going to end up buying all 5 shows, but instead of
he wanted to do this years ago. He kind of started the Grant Cardone thing.
To do this
he called
years
it something,
ago.
Right?
Yeah.
Network
GCTV.
Yeah. Okay. There you go.
Yeah. But we're doing it now. We're doing it. And
so what's the king of real estate? What does that consist of?
So Grant and I, we go and look at deals. So what happens is we got dropped into San Diego last week. 10 people. They get there's 300 people, 400 people who call the casting company. They pitch their deal. They show their deal, and you got a good look, good personality, good deal. Mm-hmm. They cast you. And then we'll end up with 10 people. We'll meet 10 people. Grant and I will meet 10 people on the initial set, and then we'll go to each one of their deals. So we go do a site visit, and then if we like the deal, we'll invite them back to the boardroom. If we don't like the deal, then they get canned right there. Mm-hmm. But then the people who come back to the boardroom, it ends up being one person who we pick to do a deal with. And so it's kind of a real estate meets Shark Tank kind of apprentice type of deal. But we want to help people. We want to help people get their deal funded. We want to help their somebody kind of really truly understand how to do a successful deal, and then also give them the money and raise the money and do,
cool. That makes sense. Why I haven't seen a lot of new content, kind of like like old school content
in the raw form. Yeah, because we're now upping our level. We're 10xing our level to 10x productions, all professional. It's
because
phenomenal.
You started the real estate show. You were right beside him.
Yeah.
And then you dipped off. Yeah. And you would talk on it.
Yeah.
And then sometimes you'd be on it, sometimes you wouldn't. Yeah. Like why did you? What happened from being right there and then you just didn't want to be on it? Or?
No. So look, I mean,
he's a monster. I'm sure.
I could do my own show, right? And so the evolution, when I was on the show, it was phenomenal. But Grant can run that show by himself. Yeah. And I started really running the company and running the business. And so I've always wanted to help Grant. But again, I'm not going to, like for me, I could run my own real estate show. Mm-hmm. And so, you got to have the dynamic just wasn't there.
He likes to go on his own speed, right?
He's a beast, he's this, he's that. And so I'm like, dude, you just run the real estate show. Yeah. I'm going to keep looking at deals and raising money and doing all this stuff. But, now, like, you start seeing me doing more of the from stage speaking and running the Bring Your Deal workshops and speaking at events and doing all this stuff, because there comes a point in time where you have to have more than one star. And Grant is really transparent about this. Like, he wants more than just Grant Cardone being a star. Mm-hmm. He wants Elena Cardone being his wife. Yeah. He wants Sherry Hamilton to be a star. He wants Jared Glant to be a star. He wants Ryan Tseko to be a star. He wants Brandon Dawson to be a star. Like, he wants all of us now to become whatever you want to call it, right?
He pulls everyone up with him.
A voice that could be heard, because people, I can tell you right now, not everybody resonates with Grant, okay? Not everybody resonates with Ryan. But they might resonate with Elena. They might with Jared. They might with Sherry. So we're just trying now to attack it from all angles. And so maybe you see, we pop up and do a new real estate show. But again, it's all a function of time. For Grant and myself, the highest and best use is deals. The highest and best use is raising from large, high net worth individuals. Yeah. Our next round, we're probably going to go to institutions and raise additional capital from them. Everything has to grow. Everything, like, we already have institutions reaching out to us saying, hey, how do we JV? How do we partner with you? How do we do more with you? Because we see your footprint. It's phenomenal. You guys have proven yourself. You got 12,000 units, some of the best stuff. Boca Raton, Fort Lauderdale, West Palm Beach, Orlando, Weston, Naples, Fort Myers. I mean, we're covering people up to the fact where they're like, we need to partner with these guys, which is exciting. Exciting because it's.
Did you ever see yourself on stages speaking of that? Did you have that in you? Like, you had the drive to work and the hard work and wanted to be around, the proximity to power and all these things, right? But did you see yourself up on the stage? Some people have that and some people don't. You know what I mean?
Well, it's for sure a growth thing, right? Because when you put somebody on stage, you have to have your deal worked out to a certain point. You know what I mean? Like if I threw, what's your name again? If I threw Taylor on a stage right now, he's going to fumble more. Maybe he's reading off of a PowerPoint, or maybe he's not, grooved into exactly what he's thinking, right? And so for me, like, when I get on stage, if you give me a PowerPoint, I don't do PowerPoints. I get on stage, like, I speak I speak whatever, and it flows better, right? And so I have evolved into becoming a better speaker. I've evolved into becoming, like who I am today. Like who I am today was not who I was 6 months ago. 12 months
great,
ago,
right? You don't want to be who you
ago.
were 6 months ago.
So I'm willing to do whatever it takes. But to answer your question directly, I was always okay with Grant being the front guy and the speaker and the public speaker. But at a certain point in time, to really, really grow this company and to really, really expand, you got to step you got to step up in a big way where not only Grant is speaking, not only Grant is doing podcasts, but you're able to share the message of what you guys are actually doing. So do I want to do speaking? I do. Do I want to be great at it? I do. Do I want to help a lot of people? I do. And so I'm willing to do whatever it takes. Cool. But it's very uncomfortable. Yeah. It's very uncomfortable for a guy like me who, I've taught ground schools and flying. I've done a lot of teaching. I've done a lot of this. It was very uncomfortable for me at first to do public speaking. Very uncomfortable, very nerve-wracking. Especially when you get put on stages in front of Grant Cardone's audience, where there's 2,000 people. Think about that for a second.
No, I think about it as you're being a pilot, right?
Yeah.
So pilot, you got you and the other guy.
Right.
And you're going on this journey, and it's just you guys, really. I mean, you got a whole people behind it, but it's really just you two.
Right.
So it's like a different mindset. Then you get on a stage, it's the whole crew in front of you. And
it's just a different skill.
Yeah.
It's a different skill.
Completely different skill. That's cool, man. And I'm glad to hear that he brought you up and you're in the TV show and stuff like that. Is Elena got a show or kids are doing the kid show? I'm sure.
So they have they've got.
She's the actress, right?
Yeah, she's amazing. Yeah, she's been acting for years and she's amazing. She's phenomenal. She's got a couple of deals working right now for herself, and then also they were thinking about cashing in with the Cardones, and it's like a family show, But look, she's got this whole thing on lock.
So they're still messing with Hollywood, kind of like that, then.
Yeah, I mean, look, they're the thing about Grant and Elaine and the family. They're willing to do whatever it takes to reach you. Mm-hmm. They're doing whatever it takes to reach Taylor. They're doing whatever it takes to reach everybody listening right now because they know that they can't do just whatever they think is going to work. They're like, let's blast it from every channel and something's going to work. Because there's still some value in traditional communication channels like TV and the new platforms like Sling and so they're willing.
What do they say? What is? I mean, other than the multiplying 10x in the units, what is Grant saying? What's his ultimate goal? Where is he trying to go to, or is he just trying to always level up?
Well,
is it not an ultimate goal? It's just enjoying life and let's touch as many people as we can and let's just have fun with it and just
no
create this legacy.
No, he's in this for sport. He's in this he's in this to win.
What's winning though?
That's So winning for Grant is control, right? He wants to control operating companies. So we have a number of operating companies, right? The first one is Cardone Capital. That's one I'm a part of. That's the one we've been talking about. He also has Cardone Training, which is Cardone Enterprises, which is the events and this corporate training and all of his training platforms. He has a lot of stuff going on in that company, right? With influencers and products, and he has done a phenomenal job with marketing in that company, also providing a great service for people up and coming, and also corporate people. The other one is Cardone Ventures, which is Brandon Dawson. They have it's more of a private equity company that invests in other operating companies. They go and help you grow your company from 10 to 100 million bucks, and they take a piece of it, and or you could buy their services. And so we also have that. Then we got 10X Health. 10X Health is where we go. We're doing big partnerships right now where we can go and do IVs, natural vitamins. That's huge business. I mean, people are underestimating the power of health. Besides wealth, it's health, right? I think we'd all agree with that. So he has a number of companies that going back to the ultimate goal is, do we roll them all up and go public? Do we keep them all private? That's
what Brandon wants to do, right?
Well, that's what Brandon wants to do. And whatever is the highest and best use for all the operating companies, what we're going to do for sure. But it's timing. It's income. It's expenses. It's EBITDA or NOI, depending on how you're looking at this stuff. But at the end of the day, similar to like a KKR, right? That's the ultimate goal. The ultimate goal is you understand real estate, you understand business, you understand operating companies. Let's not have one, let's have multiple, put the right people in place to grow those companies. And, I think we're going to end up somewhere on top.
Listen, man, Ryan Tseko, thank you so much for coming here and sitting with me, man. Your life is interesting, bro.
Yeah.
And it's so good that you're so happy. Like, you're happy. You seem happy, man. I don't know if you are. I don't want to get in your business.
No.
But you seem happy. You seem great to where you're at. I mean, from Scottsdale, Arizona to right now with the family, with Elena, with Grant and the girls, the company. I mean, your own relationships. Everything's going great for you, man. I look forward to watching your success. And thank you for coming here and sharing your stories. And
Thanks for having me, and let's do something together.
Yeah, for sure, man.
Let's partner.
Yeah.
Let's figure out how to grow. And for everybody watching,
that's where I am right now, right? Yeah. So I'm reaching out in the community. There's some bright minds here,
right?
Not only in the private, also with FIU, and I'm just want to go out and touch and talk to people, and I'm getting just inspired weekly by the people that come here and sit around my table and just talk to me.
Yep.
And thank you, man. Thank you for listening to my conversation with Ryan Tseko. To support the podcast, please subscribe, like, comment, and share. In the words of Ryan himself, the more people who know you, the more people will flow you. Until next time, I'm David Maggard.